Might help if I tuned. So, obviously, I'm going to make the point that you can go too far. I'm going to make the point that you can go too far with embellishments. Let's see. And all that. I'm gonna move my gardeners are here, even though it's raining. I'm gonna move the light a little bit. I'll do acoustic too, not just electric. So we're gonna talk about all sorts of things. Boom, 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 boom. So I just did a little chart. I'll move this to Discord. Let me give you the Discord link. Let's see. The Discord link is right here. I'll post it and pin it. And this is where the Discord. I'll just put this little JPEG there. Or actually, it's a ping screenshot up at the Discord. Where are you, Discord? Okay. Tom's lesson PDFs, etc. Dropping in, making sure I got the right thing. Yeah. So if you wanna print this up, I didn't put chords in there. Because I kind of change the chords sometimes. So let me, oops, sorry. Get my screens in order here. I need to get like 2 screens. Of course, then I'll be looking over here and talking to you know. All right, so who all's here? Let me just say some shout outs here. Get some people here. And Bruce was asking me a question, texting me. So Brian Harkins, good to see you, man. Good morning. Ed, good to see you. Castaneda, that name sounds really familiar. Bob Schumann. Bruce, thank you for being here and moderating. And Holly's here too. Who else? AJ, John, good to see you. Another well-spent lunchtime. Well, we'll see about that. Good morning. It's a good day when bar chords all come together for the first time. Yay! Good for you, AJ. Too much of everything is just enough. Paul, yeah, you got what I was going for there. They're going. Yeah, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We don't really get many people from like Australia. We do get India though, so it's pretty ding dang late in India. It's like midnight. YJax, good to see you. You look new. I don't recognize your handle. Sam, good to see you. Dennis, welcome. I got all my moderators here. That's crazy. Whoever has all their moderators show up. Catherine, you're free until 1:30, so I better get going. That means I've got 4.5 hours to teach you something. Hey, Yvette. Who's Yvette? Oh, is that YJax? I don't see an Yvette. Let's see. David Sillers. I thought there was something wrong. I had to slow down the playback speed. Greetings from Glen. Let's see. And hopefully we won't have bad internet today. That was on my end though. My upload speed was like 1. Normally it's in the 10 range. I could check it right now just to compare, but I almost hate to even bring it up. Hey, Brett Houston, what's going on? Good to see you. All right. John Kindon also in the house. So we got a good turnout, 26. All right. So what we're going to talk about, we're going to take a break from our bluegrass. We're going to go back to bluegrass and learn another song. Once I find a song that I want to teach you all, but we may take several sessions, maybe 5 or 6 sessions before we go back to bluegrass song for maybe 5 or 6 sessions. So maybe 2 weeks away from it, or maybe more. I could talk a long time on this. I wasn't really. I was thinking, oh, this will be one day thing, and I'm like, no, because probably what I'm gonna end up doing with all of this is you're gonna be kind of guinea pigs on a. Oh, okay. YJX is Yvette. Okay, good to see you, Yvette. Jack Lloyd also in the house. But this may be a precursor for me doing a series of videos on YouTube. I may do a video today. I may do the digging deeper into the E minor chord today. If I have a chance, I've got some stuff I want to get done today, but if that may happen. The other video that I'm thinking about doing, what was it? There was another one I was thinking about doing instead. I can't remember now, but yeah, no worries. Yeah, hopefully today will be better. I agree. The buffering was annoying. I mean, I think my voice was still there, so if you weren't watching the screen, then it might not have been much of an issue, but I could probably pretend I'm buffering, but not really buffering. Just to mess with y'all. Or I could create a screen with just that big circle, that wheel and spinning, and put that up. Do one of these things like boop. So, hey, Joseph Finley, good to see you. So what I wanted, obviously I chose a public domain melody. This is Amazing Grace, and very, very simple melody. I positioned it up the fretboard though, because easier to do a lot of embellishments if you're on a fretted note than on an open string. So you might want to take a look at this if you want to kind of get your hand around it, so to speak. Okay, and the big, kind of the big takeaway, and I'll probably be, one of the things. People don't even know what bookends are anymore. Kids don't know what bookends are, but you know what a bookend is. You got a bunch of books on the shelf, and if the shelf isn't up against the wall or anything, you put bookends on either side of the books to hold up the books. And when I started teaching clinics for Maranatha, I'd never spoken in public before. I'd never taught clinics before. I've taught privately one-on-one. I had no idea. I didn't even know how I got the job, but someone recommended me, and so I took the gig, and fortunately they had kind of a retreat beforehand, and they had someone come in and teach a class on public speaking, which was great. And so I think we had to speak in front of each other, which was kind of nerve-wracking, but I don't remember that, to be honest, if we did or didn't. But Rob Redman, actually, I remember he was the speaker, and I think was a pastor, so he kind of was used to speaking in public. And one of the things he says, what's your one takeaway that you want everybody to walk away? Because, that's real important. If they're paying money to go to a conference or to go to a clinic or something like that, they want to walk away with something. So do you have one takeaway that you want? And I had one takeaway for the electric class and one takeaway for the acoustic class. And he said to bookend your conversation with it. Hey, Lena, good to see you. Bookend your talk with that. And so my um, my bookend here is my thing that I'm going to repeat probably multiple times is just playing the melody. Okay, I cheated there at the end, but just playing the melody, that wasn't music. You're like, well, wait a minute, those were musical notes you played, so it's music. No, I don't think it's music, personally. I think that's just playing the notes. It's not. Now, keep in mind, there is no instrument out there that has more capability for musicality and embellishments than the guitar. I would even say the electric guitar is probably even more so than the acoustic guitar, because you got the addition of the whammy bar, and of course you've got also effects you can add. You can bend more on electric than you can on acoustic. But to just simply play the melody, and this is something I learned in studio business. Fortunately, I learned it very early in session work. But that would be very similar to a chart I might, except there would be a tab, right? But in fact, I just did a session yesterday. Where is it? Let's see. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Right here. So this is what was what was given, sent to me to play for a game. And it actually was to be played on. I played it on bass 6 down an octave. So if I played it note for note and just, it was a. It's not. It would have been boring. It might as well have been the sample that he was using to send me the example of what he wanted. No, instead of, you want to make sure that they know it's a real instrument, that you are that you're not just a sample, that there's a human there, and it may mean that you're a little out of tune. It may mean you're a little ahead or behind, and that helps it become more and more human. Which is part of the reason why you get hired. I get hired to do stuff because there's some perfectly good guitar samples out there, but they often will sound like guitar samples because they're too perfect. So I try not to sweat. You couldn't type because of buffering. Oh, that's a drag. I didn't know that. Let's see. 30 watching. Yeah. Oh, so anyway, so the goal of this series, and I came up with just off the top of my head, 15 different embellishment things that I'm not. I could come up with a bunch more. Remember, I want to do this video. I have enough now. In fact, I actually have more than enough. I want to do a video 50 ways to play the same note on the guitar. And so I actually want to do that video, but it's going to be a really long video. I mean, a lot labor-intensive video because I'm going to have to, some of it's going to be different instruments, and so I'm going to have to, play classical guitar on some, steel string and acoustic or electric guitar. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing in iMovie to do it, but I think it'll be a lot of fun ultimately. Okay, so, but yeah, so playing a melody just straight boring like that is not music. In the studio, I immediately was sitting next to someone like Michael Thompson, who's a very, very successful studio guitar player, also had a lot of experience, and he had the same chart I had, and when he played the melodies... Right? He made it music. That's music. That's what a child does when they're learning how to play piano. They're not really making music. They're playing the notes as written. All right? And sometimes it will say on the chart, as written. In other words, don't embellish. But Not usually, and so, sometimes as written means the octave as written because guitar players often. So that may be a not exactly true either. So I don't want to mislead you here. If someone says as written, it means oftentimes the pitch is as written. Okay, Bruce, you asked me. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. Of course, I get 55 viewers on the time. Viewers when it buffers. Maybe that was the cause of the buffering. I don't know. Maybe I had too many viewers. No, because it was on my end. It wasn't YouTube. It was definitely on my end. And in the time I did that, ask me anything, and I will do another one because I didn't even get to all the questions, and I know there's lots more out there. And there were some coming in as I was doing the AMA. Shoot, what was I saying? I'm spacing out. The coffee hasn't hit the bloodstream yet. But I will do another AMA. About the buffering. Yeah, so it was definitely on my end. Everybody's practicing their Indian dialects. Yes, correct, Sam. Key of G, and basically the chord progression on this is, you could do it as simply as that. So it'd be 1, 4, 5, which makes it fairly easy to solo over. But I came up with, and so Bruce was asking me if I got any more subscribers. That's what it was. So I actually got 19 new subscribers in that time of that 2.5 hours that I did the Ask Me Anything, which was, I think, a record. But it's funny because my view count right now is down a little bit. Revenue is down. Let's see. Here's a... but I'm at 91,072 subscribers. So 1,533 in the last plus 1,533 in the last 28 days, which has been pretty consistent. It's been that for quite a while. I wish they had a graph for that, like how average daily, that kind of thing, new subscribers. But I don't see that. Audience, unique viewers, subscribers. Well, no, there is. This is So Monday I got 71 new subscribers, which was interesting. On Tuesday, I got 62. And then you go to Friday of last week, and it was 36. So it's kind of a little bit of a roller coaster ride, the new subscriber thing. Right now, though, my view count is at 9,000 in the last 48 hours, which is low for me. Usually I'm over 10,000 in the 11 to 12, 13,000 range. So I think what's happening is right now my videos are my top videos are not quite getting promoted. For example, 7 Tips usually gets about 4,000 views every 48 hours, and right now it's at 3,000 views. So it's not. And for the last 28 days, 7 Tips for Older Beginners has gotten 56,000 views, which is great. But that video is getting older and older. I mean, it was January 5th, 2015, 18, sorry. So that video is now over 3 years old. So I imagine, although my number 2 video is a couple months older than that, and my number 3 video is almost 10 years old. So I guess you just never know. It's weird because my highest rated video since 7 Tips for Older Beginners is how to tune your 12-string. Which is funny. It's like, and then Bluegrass too, Bluegrass Jam. It's so weird how the things that get the most spins. I put all this thought and work into some of these videos, and then nobody cares. So it's like I'm kind of bummed because the digging deeper in the A minor chord only got how many views? 600 views so far. Normally those videos are in the 2,000 to 3,000 range, which still isn't enough to justify doing them. But my hope and prayer is that it's an annuity, and even if it gets a view a day, it pays something. If I have thousands of videos out there making me a penny each a day, then that's something. Okay. So that said, let's get back to this lesson. So I sat down and I just came up with quick passing tone, neighboring tone, leading tone, slide up, slide down, bend up, bend down, or a release bend, appoggiatura, double appoggiatura, trill, mordant, turn, surrounding neighbors, chromatic turn, harmonizing, end of note flourish, whammy up, vibrato. All of those are potential flourishes or embellishments that we, as guitar players, we can use. And some of those are, I'm using classical terminology like appoggiatura. I didn't include grace note, but that's kind of a, or I didn't include slurs, which is, so hammer on and pull off. And again, this is kind of a, almost in some ways, a precursor to the same note played 50 different ways, right? Because a lot of it's going to be that kind of thing where I play an E. I'm going to play an E note. It's going to be that note played 50 different ways on the guitar for the most part. And so it's going to be a fun video to make, but it's just going to take a while. So, hey Reed, good to see you. I said hi to you, Sham, right? Hey Jim. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start talking about some of these tools that we can use to make a melody. Again, that's not music, right? And the best way I can explain it is like if you were to sing it, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. You know, it just wouldn't be. Now, one thing, I trying to find the video, but I couldn't find it on YouTube. But I remember way back when Chuck Mangione was a thing, which was like 1979, when that "Feel So Good" song came out and was like all over the radio to the point of annoying. But Grant Geisman did an amazing guitar solo on it, and he was a kid when he did it. He was pretty young. It was a really good guitar solo, and listen to the extended version. It's really amazing. And I've worked with him. I've done sessions with him, and he's a great guitar player, nice guy too. But I saw Chuck Mangione at the World Series, I believe, in the 79, 80, something like that, playing the national anthem. And he slurred into all the high notes because on trumpet, when you're trying to get those high notes, it's kind of like if you want to play it safe, you don't just hit them. You kind of it's just like when you sing, you're like, whoa, try to slide up to it. And he did all the high notes. He was like doing that to it. And I'm like, oh, well, he's cheating. Why can't he just hit them? You know? And, you know, when you're in front of, 50,000 people in a stadium and, millions of people on TV, you're not going to be taking many chances. so he was probably, I would be doing that too. I would definitely not want to make a mistake. But a lot of times that's why those kind of things, those slurs and stuff exist, is for you to get to a note more safely. The funny thing is, I'll tell you, to be completely honest right now, the reason I wrote this out for you and put it here, it's really for me. I know Amazing Grace. I know it inside and out. The problem was when I tried to play it without any ornamentation, slurs, slides, bends, anything, I had a hard time finding the notes sometimes. It was like I didn't really know the melody. In other words, the slurs and slides and bends and hammer-ons and pull-offs and all that stuff can be a bit of a crutch to help you kind of find a note. For example, I could go, right? I'm going, is it A? No, it's B, right? And so often we're using these tools, it's totally legit to do this. We're using these tools to help us find the melody. We're on a fishing expedition. We're on a hunting expedition. And I've never gone hunting, and I have gone fishing, but I've never gone hunting. Peter Anderson, good to see you. Long time no see. Thanks for joining us. Gary, I know, goes hunting. And, you're hoping to find something. When you're hunting, you're hoping to find an animal that you want to shoot. The same thing is exactly the same when you're playing the melody of Amazing Grace. Somehow that makes sense to me. I don't know why, but yeah, better for you to be here, Peter. We miss you. Everybody misses everybody when they're. Everybody says hi to everybody when they come back. It's like, what's wrong? Have you been sick? Did you have the COVID? So it's yeah. In fact, I know right now all of you have me muted because you're really just interested in talking to each other over here in the chat. So that's pretty standard. Ooh, snow. Oh, nice. You went skiing. Nice. That's also something I've never done. I've gone cross-country skiing once, but I'm just not a cold weather person. Ergo, California. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these. We'll start with one and passing tone. Okay, so a passing tone is a note that is in between two notes. Okay, now, does it have to be a note in the key? Absolutely not. Okay, so for example, we have, right in the first melody, we have a passing tone. Going from D to G, not really a passing tone, because I could do that. That's just going to sound like the Addams Family or something. All right, I don't know how to do that in Amazing Grace. Adam's Grace or something. So we're on this note. Okay, the next note is the B. We're on G. We're in the key of G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So there's an A in between. Okay, so that would be considered a passing tone. And you could call that maybe a diatonic passing tone, meaning it's in the key. Okay, now I'm using a slide there to do it, so that's one of our tools. So I guess there's music pitches that we could talk about, and then there's tools. And I could break our musicality and embellishments into two camps. Pitch related, which would be passing tones, and then tools, which would be like slides. Okay, so right away we have an opportunity to use a diatonic passing tone. Okay, now I didn't use a slide there. Okay, I didn't use a slide there because I don't want to confuse anything, and I want to make sure that we're just talking about diatonic passing tones without any. Okay. You can play it either way. Okay, maybe go like this. So now we're on a 9th fret of the 4th string. So we went G. I'm sorry, D, G, A, B, B. And you could go. You could do that. You could make the A a quarter note and change the G to a quarter note. So that's totally legitimate. Although I might delay that A note, make the G note a dotted eighth, so it sounds like this. And that would mean you're making the A note an 8th note. So a dotted quarter, so bum, 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 right? You could even make it a 16th note. You can make it even shorter. Bum, 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 right? Or if we made it more of a grace note or used a slide. Okay? Now to do a lot of the tools, used a lot of the tools like the slides, the bends, the pull-offs, the hammer-ons, all those kind of tools, we have to know what note we're going to go from or to make that happen. So that's where having musicality, knowing diatonically what you can do, is a place to figure out where you're going to start your slur, slide, hammer-on, whatever tool we're going to use. We could use a bend too. Not the best. If we were, maybe it would be. Okay, if I were to play it up an octave, then I might use I might use a bend in that scenario. But I'm using a passing tone essentially to go to that B note. I'm using the A, even if I'm not on it very long. Okay, I'm not using the A flat. Whoops, that's even hard to do. I'm not using the A sharp, which I could, because that would be essentially the flat third, and that would be kind of a bluesy way to play it, right? And we're going to get to harmonizing too. Believe it or not, we're actually going to learn. We're going to talk about. That's why I could spend several days on this, because we're going to talk about. I've been asked a lot. How do you harmonize? And I've been asked a lot about that. And I touched my face so we can all take a sip. Have I used air quotes yet? I haven't, have I? Okay. So, is this good? Are you enjoying this? Or is this, hey, Tal, what's going on? Welcome. Waterman, good to see you. Hey, Mamba, good to see you too. Wow, everybody, how many people do we have on? Man, it's a lot. We have a lot? 40. Well, that's pretty good. Tell your friends. How about a whole step from bend from A to B? That's what I did. Yeah. No, it's totally fine. And again, I'm only using Amazing Grace because it's public domain and everybody knows it. I almost would prefer not to use a song in 3/4 if I could. But it's just a real common melody. So I didn't want to use something like, you know, I don't know. I can't even think, like, you never close your eyes every time. What's a, Righteous Brothers song or something like that. I wouldn't want to do that because, but yeah. Yeah. Now, again, this could be any melody that you're playing. And the other thing is, when someone says, take a solo, someone says, hey, John, solo. And John, that was one of your questions, was how do I get out and gig more? And that's the thing. Someone's going to say, take a solo, John. Just start with the melody, learn the melody, and then start with that. But start playing embellishments, and before you know it, you might actually create a new melody, a counter melody, or a complementary melody to the original. So is this good? You guys digging this? I hope so. Okay. Okay, now, so we talked about neighboring or passing tones. We're talking about passing tones. And we had an opportunity going from G to B. We had a diatonic note in between G and B, and that was an A. Right? It could be any of those. Amazing Grace. You could even sing it that way. I mean, it's almost like a new melody. There's a perfect example of how you make a change. You use one of the musicality tools, and you actually are creating a new melody, which could be considered technically a solo. Okay, now but I'm going to use that A more as a slide or grace note kind of stuff. Okay, now the melody. We have another melody movement here. Okay, we went a fourth, then we went a third, and now we're going down a second, right? And so we're going from B to A. Well, here's where we could use a chromatic passing tone. Okay, so this was a diatonic passing tone. Okay, if I were to go from E to G, I would use F sharp. So if the melody was... In fact, we do have a point, I think, where it goes E to G. We can totally use that F sharp, and I'll get to that later. So I'm working my way through the melody. We're going to just use passing tones. And once I've done it, once we've talked all the way through the melody, then I'll play it for you so you can hear what it sounds like, okay? I'll try to remember all the... And here's the thing. You can do too many embellishments. You can do too much. You can have too much musicality. Okay, it's like you can have way too much of Tom Strahle. Okay, I just referred to myself in third person, so I'm taking a sip. Yeah, this is a stock. It's a gin ale. Yeah. These are the original pickups that came with it. So I kind of got it because they don't make any noise. They're real quiet. They're more rock and roll than a straight on Strat. You know, like my Squire has, you know, thinly wounded, noisy Strat pickups, but it definitely, I love the way those things sound. So as you well know. Yeah, no, this is great, Tal. Awesome. I'm so glad. Okay. Now we're on B, and the next note is A. Okay. Hey, Rich, good to see you. So, the next note is A. We can do a chromatic passing tone. Okay. And we could probably do it again there. Now, it may be a little weird, but let's see what it sounds like. I'm going to do it. See. That's actually not bad. What I did there. I wouldn't use. Now, the reason that kind of works is because where are we? In fact, let me create a little thingamajigger here. I don't know if this will work. I'm going to create text. Okay. Okay. G-A. Sorry, it's going to be big for a second. C, D, E, F sharp, G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's do. See, there's really no way to get these to really line up. I could create a. I could create. Yeah, see, that's not going to really work. No. Yeah, see, I'd have to create like a spreadsheet. I mean, this little thing, but the idea here is that because I don't get a lot of options, it doesn't give you the this is OBS software. It doesn't. I can select the font, I can select the size, but I can't center it, which is really weird. Like, they don't give you that option. So, anyway, but this can be somewhat instructive, I think. My point being, when I'm saying 1, 2, or 3, or 5, or the 6 of the chord, or whatever, I want you to be able to know what that is. Okay. Use a monospace font in OBS. Is it select font? Or is that, oh wait, I saw something, dang it, it's not. Mona Lisa monotype? No, definitely not that. I don't know what a monospace font. What? Yeah, I don't know what a monospace font is. The font that I'm using right now is Helvetica, obviously. Is it called monospace? Or is that a type of font? See, oh, is that what MS stands for? Like this? Let me try that. Okay, that is better. That is better. In fact, I could put, if I put a space after, yeah, that's all I really need to do really here, is put a space after this, after the, there, and that helps. Yeah, oh, I see, perfect, you're right, it does line up, look at that. Okay. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, it just had the letter MS, so I had to figure it out for me. So, I was looking for BS. So, okay. So yeah, there's a type of font, yeah. Yeah, and the software I'm using is called OBS. It's a broadcasting thing. So the thing is that that's one of those, I use that one a lot. And so that technically I'm going B, B flat, A, G. Okay, is what's happening, you know. That's where I'm landing, but I'm gonna stop before I get to the G note. Okay, so what I did there, I did a, you could call that a slide, you could call it kind of a slur, you could do a pull off, you could do a bend. You could do that a lot of different ways, and we're going to talk about that too. Right now, we're mainly talking about passing tones. So that's one of our many musicality and embellishment tools that we can use. But passing tones, and we're overusing it. In other words, I'm going to use it almost everywhere I can do it. Okay, but if I stop there, the note I played was B, and then I went to B flat for just a second and slid it down to A. And the B flat is the flat 3. So if you look at the G, A, B, root, second 3. So G would be the root, A would be the second, B is the third. If I had B flat, that would be between A and B flat. I would call that not a sharp 2. A sharp would be a sharp 2. B flat would be a flat 3. A hugely common tone in blues. In fact, if I were to play over this, if I were to solo blues-wise over this, I'm playing a lot of B flats there, and they kind of work. I mean, obviously you're hearing Amazing Grace in there, and you're going, well, yeah, that's not Amazing Grace. No, I'm not playing Amazing Grace. I'm just trying to play like blues, G minor pentatonic blues licks over the G major changes of Amazing Grace. But that B flat is a really common tone in the key of G when you're kind of trying to blues things up. Okay, so listen to this melody again. Okay. Now, there's another passing tone. I said we had that F sharp in between the E and G. So if you look at E and G on the end of the scale here, you see that in between the 6 and the root is the 7, which is F sharp. And it's the same if you're going backwards. So between G and E is the F sharp. So I'm going to go like that. So here's the melody. Okay. I'm going to hit that F sharp before I get to the E. Between the G. Okay. Now I could do F natural maybe. That would be even more. That'd be bringing more blues in. So here's what that would sound like. Right? That would be the F natural. Here's the F sharp. And I kind of like that. Kind of doing the B flat and having that blues. Oh, look, we're kind of playing the blues right now. And then to go to the F sharp and go, oh my gosh, we're super duper diatonic. You can't be more major diatonic sounding in the key of G than playing that F sharp. It's like, woo, sexy. We're going to call this Sexy Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Save the wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Sorry. I used to be able to sing that. I've lost my range. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Sam. Sam's pointing out if you flat the 3, it's the minor third of the key. If you flat the 5, it's kind of a blues note. I don't know if we'll use the flat 5, but we might. Could totally use it. Do we have any point where we go from a D to a C or a C to a D? I don't see. Do we even have a C in the song? We have C chord in the song, but every time we land on C, we're playing the G's and the E's. I don't see a C anywhere in the song, so we won't have that opportunity. Major blues, let's see. Would that be considered a major blues since you're adding the flat 3 to the major scale? No. I'm not really adding anything. I'm using it maybe once, that kind of thing. I wouldn't necessarily go, okay, from now on I've got to have this. I've never heard the term major blues scale. So there's the bebop scale, which has the flat seventh and the seventh. That would be, that's called the bebop scale. But vocals by Tom, yeah, not good. Becker, sorry. I know you guys are gonna like download this and edit that and create a whole montage of me singing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Check my who's latest acting. Oh, Becker. Oh, acting video. Okay, so so we got so far we got so I think I like the F sharp as a passing tone from the G to the E. You could use it, like I said, we could use F natural. But let's try not to get it too bluesy, okay? So we got now that again, we're just talking about passing tones. These are tones in between notes. See, there it doesn't really work, does it? Because we're going up to the D. We're not going down to the G. When we did the flat third, it worked going to the G, but okay, so there's a case where you could embellish or use passing tones too much. And that would be the we got that one's good. Now, here's where, okay, so now we're moving forward. So let's not do this passing tone that we did in bar 3. Let's not count the, bar 2. Let's not count the pickup. So bar 1 is this, is the G note. So in bar 2, we used the flat, the B flat to go from B to A, right? Let's not do it in bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In bar 6, we're not going to want to do that, okay? We're just going to go straight. And going from A to D, there's not really a passing tone because it's a fourth. It's too wide of an interval. We could do, again, we could do something like that. And we get into that range of, Tom gave me the idea to do vocal memo. No. Yeah, I have a bunch of Amazing Graces. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I am found. I mean, I got a ton of them. Seriously, it's like, and because everybody does the, you know, the Gilligan's Island one. No, it's like, no, those are so done. You know, I wanted to come up with new ones. So I have to chug. No. That may happen, but I'm not chugging because I sang. That's not one of the rules. So, okay, now, so again, okay, now the thing is, we're going from D. Now we're up on this D note in bar, whatever that is, bar 7, the 7th fret of the 3rd string. And so we're going from D to B to D again, and then back to B. Okay. So what we could do is, if we were to do a passing tone in between all those, we have a third. So let's do a diatonic. We're not going to want to use a C sharp. We're going to want to stay in the key of G. So we're going to use a C. So you're going to have to go down to B and back up. So watch this. Okay, so there might be a way. Maybe just do the up. Yeah, that works for me. So at the end of the first line, you have that B there. Then you're going back to D. So use the C as a passing tone. Again, we're starting with pitches. How you get from C to D is up to you. Okay. um, okay. Smells like grace, exactly. Smells like teen grace. Amazing teen spirit. Yeah, I know, right? I can't do those darn covers. I'm nowhere near the original. Oh man, my favorite though, I think it's just too hard to sing though. I can't get up there anymore. I used to be able to do it, but you can fit Amazing Grace over Back in Black. Try it. So. Okay, so back to where we. Okay, so we're in the key of G. We got this. Okay, so I like that. We're going from at bar 7 we're on the D, and then we've got at the end of the bar, at the end of the first stave, we have that B note, and we're going back to D. So we'll use that C as a passing tone. I could use that C again. See what I did there? Now check this out. I have D to B to G. Those are all thirds. D to B is a third. B to G is a third. Now look up here. Look at D and look at B, and there's a C in between. So I can go, and then in between B and G there's an A. Okay, that almost just sounds like a scale though, right? So you almost have to choose which one. Don't do both. Well, since we use the C going up to the D, let's use the A going down to the G. So check this out. See what I did? So I went B, C, D, and then I did B, A, G. And now we're going down, we're on G, so we're on the second line now, bar 10. We're going down to this D, and we're gonna go to E. And we have a note in between D and E, and that's E flat. It's not in the key, okay? Not in the key over here. I'm pointing the wrong direction. Boom. Not in this key. But it's still a decent, not a bad passing tone, especially going up. Right? So again. Okay, and that's pretty what we've already done. Okay, so let me play the melody without the passing tones, and then I'm going to play the melody with the passing tones. I'll do it with the track here that I created. You know what, I'm gonna give me one more bar of click just so. One. I keep putting vibrato. Don't to make it even less musical, don't put vibrato. Oh, I forgot that. Okay, you see what I'm doing there? Okay. So I did use slides. I used some of our tools. I just didn't do pure, like, I could play it just pure with the passing tones and not try. It's hard. It's really, 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 really hard. I could play it, so if I played it without any kind of tools of slides and hammer-ons and bends and whatever, pull-offs, all that stuff, Um, oh, peaceful, easy feeling. That's right. I think I've heard that one. Um, Tom will edit the video before I upload. If I did it without any kind of tricks, it would just sound like this. Oh no, I forgot about that one. Okay, again, without any of our beautiful guitar related tools and embellishments, it kind of sounds a little boring. It just sounds like a melody with some extra notes in it. So it's still like on the musical range, it's maybe a 1 out of 10. Okay, playing it with no is a 0. Okay, that's not music technically. I don't think it's like a student playing it on piano. Now you're saying, well, what about piano players? They can't do slides and bends, and they can do other things though, and they can fill in and they can harmonize, and so they can make it music. But if a piano player were just to come along and just go, that doesn't make any sense. But a piano player could literally do all sorts of things, and some things that guitar players can't do. I can't think of any offhand because we're so much better than they are. Is Lena here? Oh shoot, Lena's here. Dang it! I just insulted Lena. That's par for the course. Okay, so if I insult Lena, I got to take a sip. I have to take a sip. You don't have to, but if I insult Lena, I have to take a sip. Okay, so that's so passing tones are one of the things. Now, also with passing tone, another thing you can think of, and I wrote this in here. Let's see, passing tones, neighboring tones, a little bit different. Okay, a neighboring tone can allow us. See, a passing tone implies that we're going between two. We're playing notes in between notes. We're in passing. It's like if you're walking down the hallway at school and you're going from class A to class B, and there's a person there that's a friend of yours, and you give them a high five. You're giving them a high five in passing. You're passing on your way through. And so these notes are just high five. It's a horrible. That's like the worst analogy I've ever given, I think. And Lena's saying it's okay. But so there are times like for example, whenever I said, oh, well, you know what, we can't really do a passing. If it's a fourth, you can't really do a passing tone, right? I mean, because you could. That would be technically, I guess, a passing tone because it's in between. But I would also could potentially call that a neighboring tone. But a neighboring tone can be above or below. Okay, so let's go through the G scale, and we can maybe play the G scale on this string here, on the 4th string. If you're playing acoustic guitar, you may have to shift at some point to the 3rd string. Okay. Oh no, what's going on in here? Thingamajigger. Oh, did I say thingamajigger? That may be a very Indiana thing. The major triad, the minor triad, yeah, exactly the same. I'm not modulating the minor. Yeah, but adding a flat third just kind of applies, especially if you're going. You could do the flat third going to the 3rd, right? And that would be also a neighboring tone. A neighboring tone. I always like the okay, I'm changing guitars so you can take a sip. Always like Django Reinhardt, he would do like chromatic neighboring tones. me tune. Replace the E string. Hey Holly, how are we doing? How many viewers do we have? Maybe somebody post on Discord that I'm live, just in case there's somebody on Discord, but not. But like Django, like maybe in D minor. He would do a lot of like chromatic neighboring tones. You'd find a note. You could take the D minor triad. Now it wouldn't be always chromatic on both ends of it, but the fifth works fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to play the G. Here's the G, and we're going to play the neighboring tones on either side. So we're going to play the F sharp, G, A, G, and that's an appoggiatura technically. In other words, your melody is ba, but you could go. And now you can lead into it, or you can come down from it. Okay, but so G, we've got G and an F sharp, so we go F sharp to G. That's one way we could get to G, and then we have with a neighboring tone, and this would be diatonic neighboring tones. So these are all going to be notes within the key of G that we're going to use. We could go A to G. Okay, so for example, that very first melody, right? Did you hear that? Amazing, amazing. Okay. We used a neighboring tone to get to the G note. I could go below the G and use the F sharp. That's probably more common. And it's also very common if you're not sure the melody. It's like, is it F sharp? No, it's G, you know? Okay? Okay, now. Okay, so now we're going to go, okay, thank you, John. We're going to go to the A note. Okay, so we're here. Now the notes, if you look at A on the scale over here, over here, all right? The note below is G, and then the note above is B. So if we're going to A and that's our melody note, we could use a neighboring tone below. We could use the B above. Now if we wanted to create a bluesy sound, we could use the B flat, which we've done already. Right? But that was also a passing tone. So there's passing tones and there's neighboring tones, and sometimes they're the same thing. All right? But where we would use a neighboring tone instead of a passing tone is like that, the very first interval, D to G, where we really wouldn't want to use all of those diatonic notes in between D and G, because it sounds like, it doesn't, you know, it sounds like Addams Family, okay? So you might just use a neighboring tone to get to that G. Okay. Okay, so we're on A. Okay, so we could go, you know, we could go B to A, or we could go to G to A. Okay, let's go to the B. We can go to B here. Let's go to B here. Okay, so I'm on the 9th fret of the 4th string, and I could go below. So surrounding the B note are an A and a C. The A is a whole step below, and B to C is a half step. Remember that. So it's just 1 fret up from B. So we could be. See, I'm using that. It's a passing tone in this situation, but it's also a neighboring tone. No, it's not a colonial thing. Oh, wait. What did Dennis... A doodad come from? A doodad. I don't know where a doodad comes from. A thingamajigger is just I think it's just a way of saying a thing, but being more colorful. You know the thing. Okay. And then the other way we could get to that B note with a neighboring tone is with the C note. Right? That would be a different way to play that melody. Before we slid up to it from the A, but we could go right? Or I could go around it. I could go C to A to B. You know, like I like to write melodies that way, right? I like to surround the note I want to get to. So that's just another way we're using, and that kind of how an appoggiatura works. But so that's just I'm learning. Basically, what I'm trying to show you is the notes in the key of G, and then what are the neighboring tones? Okay, so we did B, we did G, A, B. Now let's do C. Let's play C here at the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Okay, and we're gonna go B to C is 1. Again, there's no C in this song, so we're not gonna be able to use any of these for this song. And then if we wanted to go below, we would go D to B, or D to C, sorry. And if we wanted to surround it, we could go. Or we could go D, B, C, or we could surround it, go and start out below, go below and up to above. So go B, D, C. Okay. So again, all of these are just tools to make a melody be more musical. Or whatchamacallit, yeah. That's also a candy bar. And it's kind of a weird name for a candy bar because, you know, I mean, I guess Snickers is a weird name too. They all pretty much weird names. Kind of want to know what's in it though. You say whatchamacallit, and you know, I can't. What's the one I can't eat anymore? Zero Bar. Isn't it called Zero Bar? Is that the one? It was like a milkshake with white chocolate on or something? Yeah, I ate one, and I was eating one, and then I looked down, and there was a silkworm in it. So I can't eat those anymore. Well, it turns out I realized the silkworm wasn't in the candy bar. It fell onto it when I walked under this archway of flowers. You know, I kind of got into like a silkworm nest or something, and it just fell in. But in my head, what you may call it, yeah, that's exactly right. Doohickey, yeah. There's also words for private parts too. They're funny. Like my wife's family has Eniper is a male private part. Eniper. I'm like, I don't know if anyone else says that or if that's just their family, but it's just funny. I don't know the origin. Oh, Snickers or marathons, and oh, that's funny. Well, that makes sense. Thinmerty, and Whitson. Whitson, where are you? I forget. You're in England, right? But you're in a specific part of England. Okay. Okay. So, squirrel. I'm surprised somebody hasn't put a squirrel up there. Yeah, 38. Okay. All right. We're doing all right. So, so we're at C, and those are the notes. Okay, we go to D, and if you look at D in the scale over here, oops, over here, I'm making awful weatherman. If you look at D, the note below D is C. So here's D at the 3rd. I'm using my 3rd finger at the 7th fret of the 3rd string. And the C is a whole step below, and the E is a whole step above. Okay, so we could, if we're doing this, and there's some D's here, we got, right? Or, and that's another thing we could do is with a neighboring tone is you can go from the note to the neighboring tone and back to your note. That's called a trill. Actually, a trill would be, let's see. Technically, I think that's called, and Lena might know this because she's smarter than me about this kind of stuff. But I think that's called a mordant, where you just go, that's a mordant. A trill would be, which you could totally do. We're going to get there. I'll use trills sometimes in blues. playing the blues. They're cool. You know, Hendrix did them all the time. So, but when we get to that D, let's see, in bar 6 and 7, when I go A to D, right, and that's the highest point of the song, the melody wise. I could slide into it from the A. I could go from I could pull down to it or slide down to it from the E. So those are the neighboring tones. Okay, they're next door neighbors. That's why they're called neighboring tones. And seriously, you know, if you're a beginner, I forget Tal. You know, you're a beginner. I understand that. Don't worry. There's not going to be a quiz on this. All right. So everybody take a sip, a celebratory sip, because I told you there's no quiz. Yeah. All these terms I'm going to use multiple times in the next 2 weeks of lessons. So you'll actually, by the end of 2 weeks, you'll know these terms. You'll know, oh, a trill. Oh, that's just this. Yeah. You'll know what a trill is. You'll know what a neighboring tone is. You'll know what a passing tone is. You don't need to understand what I'm saying now. I'm just going to keep saying it, and eventually it'll make sense. Okay? Does that help? So don't freak out. Sure. It's funny we had to approve that, Sam. I guess because of the snake. A doohickey. Yeah, a doohickey. Think I'm a squirrel? A doo squirrel-icky? Oh, right. Scotland. Yeah, Scotland. Sorry. It's not old enemy. Current enemy. All right. So, okay, and then we have E. I mean, we could also go down here to this E. All right. But if you're on this E, we have the neighboring tones to E are D and F sharp. Okay, and that's diatonically. We could also play F natural if we want to kind of imply a little bit more of a dominant seventh bluesy kind of vibe, which totally works. Especially if we're going to go from in Amazing Grace, Amazing Grace, how sweet. We go to the 4 chord. We can play G7. I wouldn't do it right away. I might save it for later in the song, or another iteration, another rotation of the song or something. I wouldn't give that away too soon. Use it as an opportunity to kind of have a moment where it catches people off guard. But if you do it every time, go into the C chord, it's going to be old hat, and it's going to make it sound more like a blues song than a hymn or a gospel tune. So you probably don't want to overuse that G7th going to the C. But when you make that G7th, you're implying now that the song is in the key of C and this is the tonic. And it's a great trick. I love doing it. But you don't want to overuse it. So around the E we have that, and we could go going from to E, we could go from there, or okay. Now if we move that E down an octave, and I gotta add something here to my list of tools. I forgot about that. That was another one. And so, sorry, I gotta get you guys. I want to see what you're saying. Aw, Sam didn't win the capo. That was a nice capo. All right. So, sorry, I got bored for a second. So let's go down to this E down here, because this E actually comes into play in the melody. Where is it? It happens in bar 3. So we have. Okay, so I could slide into that, right? So that would be a neighboring tone. I'm going D. Remember, we're on E is the target tone, and so the neighboring tones to E are D and F sharp. So I could go. So, slid into it. I could hammer onto it. Or I could go from F sharp. So, right? Or, and that would also, that's an example of it being a passing tone and a neighboring tone, that F sharp. And also, we also use the F natural. So it could be, and that F natural is the flat seventh, and that's a neighboring tone too. Just like D sharp would be a neighboring tone, we could do that, but I wouldn't sit on it. But we could do that as a passing tone, but also I wouldn't do something like that. So in other words, but I might do a very, very quick little grace note from the E flat to the E. Okay, so that would be an option. Technically, that would be what's called a chromatic neighboring tone. So we've got neighboring tones, which are I don't need to say diatonic neighboring tones. Let's just assume that the scale and the key is implied in the term neighboring tone. If I say chromatic neighboring tone, it doesn't matter what note we're at. We're just going to do one fret above and one fret below. Those are chromatic neighboring tones, meaning half step. Chromatic, this is a chromatic scale. Watch. Everybody can play a chromatic scale. Okay? Django Reinhardt loved chromatic scales because he could play them with just two fingers. He got really good at timing his slide and his pick right hand together. That's a skill right there, man. It sounded like he was going, but he was going like, what? He was like, what? Yeah. No, not quite. Anyway, so chromatic neighboring tones are just the fret on either side. And they may or may not be diatonic. Like if I played the G note and get chromatic, right? The G sharp is not in the key of G, but the F sharp is. So sometimes some chromatic tones will be diatonic as well. Never will both be diatonic though. Okay? Never ever will both of the diatonic tones, chromatic tones, be in the diatonic key. That can't happen. Just so you know. And again, no quiz on this. Don't stress all this terminology. I really, really hate burying you guys in jargon. The only thing is that for the next few lessons, we'll be using the jargon over and over again. So it should start to sink in. And some of you will understand now, but some of you won't understand for a few days. But I have confidence that you'll all understand at some point. Okay, so let's see. Where are we? 42. Hey, great. Come on, let's crank it. Come on, people. Did somebody go on Discord and say, hey, Tom's alive? Okay, so okay, so where are we? Oh, F sharp. Okay, so we're at the F sharp now. We've already done G, so we only have one more scale tone, and these are all scale tones: G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. G is the root, A is the 2, the second scale tone. B is the third scale tone, third note in the scale. C is the fourth, D is the fifth, E is the sixth, and the seventh is F sharp in the key of G. All right, key of G has one sharp, and it happens on the 7th degree. In the sharp keys, whenever you go to the next key, like the next key is the key of D, which has 2 sharps, the new sharp always appears in the 7th, on the 7th note in the scale, just so you know. Again, no quiz on that. Gosh, there's a lot of sips here. Yes. Quarters. How we get on quarters and quarters and euchre. And euchre is a funny word because there's no R in it, right? Is that right? Is that how it's spelled? Or is it C-H-R-E? I trust Sam. He's pretty smart. Sam, your surgery is coming up, right? Less than 2 weeks, right? We all have to be praying for Sam when he goes in for hip surgery. And yes, double stops will be an embellishment. Yes, exactly. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go put up that jam track and I'm gonna play along with it. I'll do it on electric though because I have more options on electric than acoustic, and I'll just do a bunch of different. I'll just kind of make up stuff as I go. Hopefully it'll be good. Oh, so there is an H. Okay. I mean an R. Sorry. A week from tomorrow. Okay. Sam, I know you're stressing, so I just pray that you get peace and you be able to get stuff done before you go in. So, okay. So we have the F sharp. Do we have an F sharp in the melody anywhere? We do not. So, but if I were to play, I could slide up from E to F sharp would be the neighboring tone below the F sharp, or if I wanted to, I could do the neighboring tone above, which would be G going down to F sharp. Now, I probably would use, like, for example, that I love that half step neighboring tone thing over the B. You've got, remember the B, we had A below it and C above it. Well, C to B is a nice little, I might even use a trill. Check this out. Okay. So, all right. So that covers all of the neighboring tones. We may talk about chromatic neighboring tones another time, or maybe next. What's today? Wednesday? Maybe Friday. Okay. But let me play at this thing a little bit, and probably going to break a string. I'm saying that in advance because these strings are getting kind of old. So if I go crazy with bends, let me see what the level's like. So I'm going to play it straight through, very, very boring the first time through, okay? So this would be kind of the non-musical version of Amazing Grace. Try not to do vibrato. Little attitude, sharp. Now flat. Man, the battery's dying on this tuner. It's not very bright. Alright, let me just do it real quick. Sorry. And then I'll play the melody. Simple. Trouble with whammy bars, they do tend to go a little out of tune. I don't have one with a lock. I don't have a locking Floyd Rose or anything like that. Okay. Okay, get ready to go to the top here. And rhythm is another tool you can use. You can change the rhythm of the melody. Okay, so I'm going to get more embellished here. simply going up an octave could be a good variation. Uh-oh. That was weird. That's funny. I forgot to extend this out forever. So, let's see, custom control. It only went to 129 measures. I need to, at the project end, defaults to 100. For some reason, 129 measures. It's like, really? I'm going to extend it to 1 billion measures. So it just keeps going. And then this has to all. Okay. All right. So you see what I'm doing there, though? I'm really utilizing a million different techniques to make it musical and still play the melody. I'm still playing the melody, right? And all of those techniques, all the blues, I mean, I could solo over that. I didn't even put the chords in here. I'm going to reprint this up. I'll add the chords so we have the chords in there because that's going to come into play. Shoot, who was it? Where'd you go? Sorry. Wits End. It'll come into play. Wits End asked me about harmonizing, and that's totally another thing we can do. Lots of double stops, harmonizing, things like that. There's lots of things we can do. But you kind of have to know the chords because, like, for example, the first time we play this D note, it's over a D chord. So I would play an F sharp. But the next time, it's over a G chord. So now I'm going to have to play a G and a D instead of an F sharp and a D. If I want to, it's the same thing if I were doing that over the first D, that would be an A and a D, and that would imply the D chord. But the next time around, like 2 bars later, the D is being played over a G chord, so I maybe have to play a B and a D with a B with a D on top, or a G with a D on top. Generally want the top note to be the melody, but not always. Oh my goodness, this tuner is. I'm excited though about putting a new battery in my tuner. I bought these batteries. I think they're over here. Yeah. And it says on here, it says child secure with bitter coating. So I'm really curious what they taste like. So I'm going to open these up. I should do a TikTok where I'm like, ah. I'm not gonna do it now because if it's really bad, I might have to leave the room and brush my teeth or something. Yeah, exactly, John. Um, the John asked this question too on the Ask Me Anything about more repertoire. So the quickest way to get, for one thing, there's a million songs with a couple chords, that use 2 or 3 chords, 3 or 4 chords. If you learn, if you can play 4 chords, you can play a million different songs, and even use the capo to change the key and G, C, D, and E in your E minor, and you're good. I think you'll grow a lot faster as a guitar player if you force yourself into situations where you're playing with either other people in a garage band or accompanying a singer or something. What you'll find that there's the more I think Gary would tell you this too. Gary's probably gotten a lot better since he started performing in front of people, and he wants to learn more songs. And you want to learn more songs. You want to learn more ways to do them. Like I say, there's, people say, what's the most important thing I should learn? And I always say, well, do you play acoustic or electric? And I've told you this 100 times. But if you play electric, you should really learn the fretboard. You should learn every note on the fretboard. You should be able to pick out any note, D, E, whatever. And then on acoustic guitar, one of the things that I notice among so many acoustic guitar players is that they kind of do the same strumming pattern for everything. So I've done a lot of videos, 30 or 40 videos on strumming grooves and acoustic grooves and strumming patterns and, John Lennon's favorite pattern and Neil Young's favorite pattern. I'm trying to come up with somebody else to do. I haven't found one yet that would be that would be a good follow-up to that. The John Lennon one's done really well. I think partially because it's in the let's see. I want to check something real quick. Yeah, my viewership is way down right now. So let's see. Yeah, introduction to ukulele. Okay, so it's only got like 400 views. It's just not great. So check out my videos. Go through. I've got 760 videos. Is that what you said, Bruce? And I may do another one today. I may do the digging deeper into the E minor chord today. I haven't really decided yet, but that's likely going to happen. But yeah, so we're going to continue to talk about a lot of these tools that I'm using. And some of them might be difficult if you're only playing acoustic. If we get into bends or playing up an octave or whatever. But I could also talk about maybe creating a chord melody for your acoustic players. We could talk about that as well, because it's one. If you're alone by yourself, you can't really go. I mean, you could, but that's kind of like that's not, and then you can't just play the chords. So we got, how do you combine them? Is a John Lennon D chord. And you can use some of the embellishment techniques to embellish the melody you're playing with your. Oh, sorry. Yeah. You could reharmonize it too. You could totally reharmonize it. You could go, would be nice. mean, you can. There's a million. You know, that's the cool thing about harmony is you can really take people to another whole nother place by just substituting out some chords, and that's all just about experimenting. You know, what happened if I put B flat under that? Not going to work. But if I play C under that, it's interesting. If I put F underneath all that, if I put B underneath all that, you could do F and B. That would be interesting. Right? It's like almost like a soundtrack. Of course, why did it sound like a soundtrack? Because when I played the F, it was creating a Lydian sound. Right? Which I always tell you, Lydian always sounds like a movie score. Oh, something sad is about to happen. All right. All right, so let's see. Boom. Ask me anything. Well, hey, look, there's John's question right there. There were some questions I didn't get to, right? I don't know if Holly added any more since Monday. I think I pulled up the Google Doc. Okay. Oh, well, yeah. Holly asked me, this one's a good one. Holly, I heard you say that you love George Benson. Are there any other standout guitar players you love? Oh, yeah. I mean, George Benson was a huge influence. I mean, I really spent a lot, and guitar player wise, definitely. I spent a lot of my time trying to transcribe and figure out George Benson songs. But I also did the same thing with Charlie Parker solos. I mean, I tried to transcribe Charlie Parker, a little bit of Coltrane, but really, I really liked the way Charlie Parker played. I bought A Love Supreme by Coltrane, and it was just too experimental for me at the time because I was really trying to learn bebop. And there may have been bebop underpinnings on Love Supreme, but I wasn't, smart enough to know that. And so I was basically wanting to hear bebop, and Charlie Parker to me was kind of the perfect. Dizzy Gillespie too, but something about saxophone translates really well to guitar. And so I would do that. So there was a lot of that. Early influence would have been John Denver. Probably the reason I bought a 12-string guitar when I was 11 or 12, which almost made me want to quit playing guitar. And my first electric, I got it at 13, and it was interesting because I remember going to the store. My parents gave me the option of buying one or two guitars, and there was a Fender Mustang, and there was the Ibanez 175 copy. So the Fender Mustang this would have been 1974, so it probably was a 60s Mustang. It was used. The Ibanez was new, so that may have been part of the reason why I chose the Ibanez. But also something about the big box, I went, oh, that's kind of cool. And so having a big, quote-unquote, jazz guitar, and my teacher always got mad at me for calling that. He goes, you can play any kind of music on it. You don't have to play jazz on it. But I always said, oh, it's a jazz guitar. And that's when I saw George Benson, I was like, oh, he's playing a guitar like mine. And that happened pretty young. I was probably 15 years old when that happened. Pat Metheny, I got into Pat Metheny a lot too, through John Harrington, who actually is the guitar player for Steely Dan. John Harrington introduced me to Pat Metheny, his playing, not him personally. And John was I was like 15-year-old kid, and John was I think getting his bachelor's or master's at Indiana University. And went from there to, lived in New York and went there. But But then, you know, when I decided I wanted to become an LA session guitar player, a lot of that was because of players like Tommy Tedesco, who I really didn't hear that often or didn't realize I was hearing because he was playing all these movies and TV shows. But they were doing articles on him, and I got into Lee Ritenour and Larry Carlton. So pretty kind of generic, vanilla kind of players. And then Lukather from Toto. Never really got into blues like B.B. King and stuff like that, not until later. And even then, I never really got into the blues. You Stay Where You Vaughan, I didn't really appreciate at the time until he passed. Same with Jimi Hendrix. Kind of didn't really understand what he was doing. I was into big into Zeppelin and Jimmy Page. I always thought Hendrix was a little sloppy, but keep in mind I was hearing Hendrix because Hendrix died in 1970. That's the year I started playing guitar. So I didn't really start hearing Hendrix until like 75, 76. And by then I'd heard all these really, like I got into Al Di Meola and stuff. So compared to really precise musicians like George Benson and Al Di Meola and things like that, Hendrix would sound really kind of sloppy. But I didn't realize until later what ground he was breaking at the time. The thing is, I also got into Terry Kath, who I think somebody, Dick Cavett, asked Hendrix what it's like to be the greatest guitar player in the world, and he said, I don't know, ask Terry Kath. Because Terry Kath actually, like, I got into Chicago as a kid, and some of his guitar solos on 25 or 6 to 4 is a great guitar solo. The long version of that song has a great guitar solo. And he did some really cutting edge stuff. To this day, there's that really long track. What is it? Purple People something. On the first album, discography. Oh yeah, they had 1 million members. Chicago Transit Authority. Freeform guitar. Yeah, well, I should have known. Nobody can figure out what he's doing there. So that would be an interesting. I'm a Man's a great song too. I forgot about that one. Beginnings is a great song. Question. Oh, 25 or 64 is not on this record. It's interesting. I had this record though, and it was just great. Does anybody know what time it is? Beginnings. Question 65, 67, 68. I guess it was the next record, Chicago 2, or just Chicago. The Chicago album had 25 or 64 on it, I guess. Yeah. Also another double album. Crazy to do a double album for your first album, and then your second album to do another double album. That's how prolific they were, though. And they were so young. I mean, gosh. When Chicago Transit, 69, when that came out, they were nominated for a Grammy for Best New Artist. Let's see. So in 69, Chicago, how old would have Robert Lamb been? So he would have been 25. So he wasn't as young as I thought. Guitar. James Pankow was an original member. So he would have been 23 or 22. It's pretty stinking. Oops, it's pretty stinking young. Oh, weird. Why did Safari quit? Weird. Yeah, how old was Terry Kath? And Danny Serafin was the original drummer, was he not? Terry Kath was born in 46, so that means he was 23-ish in... Serafin was born in 48, so he would have been 21. Was he the original drummer? Let's see. Personnel. Usually on Wikipedia, they'll have one of those graphs. Current, no, I want original. Here we go. Terry Kath, Robert Lamb, Danny Serafin was an original member. Tris Imbo, I forgot Tris did it. Walter, okay, Walter was an original member. And Lee and James Pankow. When did, wow, James and Lee have been there the whole time. When did, oh, I know Walfred Reyes. I forgot he was doing. Peter Cetera came in pretty early and then left in 86. So, all right, sorry. Getting really sidetracked here in the minutia of Chicago. But huge influence. Terry Kath was a huge influence on me. My first band that I put, my second band after Paul and my band, or actually maybe that would have been my second band. I did the junior high talent show thing with Chris Justice and with David Wright, and who else was in that band? Steve Worrell, I think. Anyway, a bunch of kids I went to junior high with. We did Chicago tunes almost exclusively. So I had to learn all of Terry Kath's riffs. And I had a book that I got from the music store I worked at, or I took lessons at the time, that it was like scores of the first couple records. So it had all the parts, which was cool. So the horn players, I may have copied their parts for them, which is really cool. I learned a lot about music doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Danny was the original. Okay, yeah. All right, so let me see what's going on here in the chat. It looks like, oh, Tom, are you familiar with Sean Lane? Yeah, I am familiar with Sean Lane. I bought that record. His first record, what was it called? 10. An amazing guitar player, actually died of, what did he die of? Really sad. He had, he only lived to be 40. Where's the, I think his family's kept the legacy alive, though. I didn't realize he did collaborated with Ringo Starr and Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. Yeah, because I think of him as a fusion guy. I don't realize that he was. But his health was, he had psoriasis throughout his life. He suffered from arthritis. Oh gosh. Yeah. He would have to remain on medical oxygen the rest of his life. Yeah, and he's buried in Memphis. Yeah, lung related. Yeah, just sad. Amazing player. Kind of one of those players who's like, okay, I quit. I'm not going to be able to do that. And he could play piano too, like a monster. He wasn't just a really, really good guitar player. He could play piano almost as good. Oh, that's cool. He was a friend of yours. Wow. Yeah, that's. So do you live in the Memphis area? We're talking about, wait a minute. Oh no, was that you that asked that question? Oh yeah. I never saw him play or anything like that. I was just aware of him. I think I probably saw him on YouTube because I think YouTube was a thing at that point. So when he, towards the end of his life. So, I've met Doyle Dykes too. Small, same thing. Yeah, at a guitar store in Hollywood or in Studio City, I saw Doyle. Super nice guy. Also, what's the other one? The guy from Australia that's amazing. Yeah, I don't even aspire to that kind of thing. I'm paying the bills, and touring and making records isn't really my idea of a good time. For the most part, I like working with other people. I like supporting other people. I like getting paid for what I do. The problem with, and I've done records, I've never made money on any of them. And the problem is, it's hard enough to be a professional working musician and deal with all the stuff you have to deal with. Somebody said that a successful musician basically is like a miniature corporation. There's a lot, legal department. There's a budget department. There's a procurement department. There's a scheduling department. There's a, you have to schedule. You have to practice. You have to continue to grow. You have to have a financial department. You have to be able to understand contracts, or at least pay someone to do that for you, which I've had to do in the last. I spent more money on lawyers last year than I ever had, and so much so that I haven't even made money on those endeavors that I haven't paid back the amount of money I spent on lawyers. I haven't even gotten that money back yet from some of these things that I had to hire lawyers to do. So kind of frustrating in that regard. Yeah, it's very difficult. I'm not a good band manager. I'm not good at booking gigs. I'm not good at getting paid for booking gigs. You've got to be a songwriter, a record producer, a guitar player, a singer, a bandmate. You got all these things to be, and then to add to, so I've never ever had a record that I ever released that actually we made money on. And so I know people that do make money. I know people that make really good money, and they do justify, they can go out tour and they can sell 10,000 units. And if they own the record and they're selling 10,000 units at $15 a pop, that's 150 grand a year. Their cost on those 10,000 units, probably, in the $10,000 range, basically $1 a unit. So, and then if they're getting paid to tour or to do shows and stuff, but I've always been kind of a homebody, so I've never done that. But, my hat's off to anybody. See you, Paul. He's already left. Yeah, give me a like. Oh, sorry. Questions to lead tone. What do you use? Electric guitar. Oh, today's lead tone? Oh, too many emoticons for a question. Wait. Yeah, actually. Oh, you're in the Bruce. You're in the process because we changed course for the first time in a long time. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So Becker, what I'm using for tone on this. So I've got a in the other room I have an old. So I'm going through a Klon, and then I have a Dumble in the other room, a Dumble string singer in the other room, and it's pretty cranked, but it's actually, the room is basically 20 by 20, and I have several microphones all over the room, including vintage 47s. No, I'm just totally BSing you. Right now you're going, wait, what? No, I'm just using Logic. I'm using Amplitude, and it's a Marshall clone. Yeah. Did your heart stop there for a second, Becker? Yeah, actually, my son Alex saw when he was a kid at Guitar Center here in Northridge. He called me on the cell phone. He says, "Dad, there's a pedal here that I want to get, but it's $500." And I said, $500? What kind of pedal is it? He goes, it's a distortion pedal. It's called a Klon, and I don't think they know what they have. And I go, I don't know, boy. That's a lot of money for a distortion pedal. And he had $500, and he won't let me live it down. He's like, do you know how much that pedal be worth today? I go, yeah, I know. Sorry, I'd never heard of a Klon at that point. But they're about $3,000 now, and the guy's still making them. That's what's crazy about it. But he makes like one a year. I mean, there's all sorts of rumors about it. He makes one a year, and he gives it to a woman that is a single mom, and she sells it. So he doesn't even sell them anymore, or maybe he gives her like 5. So like apparently new ones show up on the market, but yeah, I have a couple Dumbles. Just one of my favorite. I wish. I'm sure there's a screenshot of it, but it was one of those. You know, we were talking about who was asking me about pedals and sounds and stuff like that. And it's really, man, some of those like gear. What's the gear sluts? Some of those forums are, forget it, right? I'll go on a forum like that and I'll make some comment. And my name is there. It says Tom Strahle or whatever. And I'll make some comment and they'll just unload on me like, what do you know? You don't make a living doing blah, blah, blah. I said, you know, look me up. I'm like, seriously. Do this much research before you go at someone saying, you can't use a $99 Squire on a major record. You're totally lying. Like, I'm trying to help you here. I'm trying to tell you, you don't need to spend $3,000 on a guitar. And so those forums are completely worthless. But I remember seeing this one post where this kid, this guy wrote a review, like it was talking about Dumbles, right? A Dumble Overdrive Special, which if you can find one, I don't think you could find one. Let's see. I know that John Mayer has a few of them, but you know, let's see. Let's look on Reverb and see if there's any Dumbles. You'll say if I enter Dumble, they'll have a bunch of. I bet if I go to eBay, I might be able to find one. But Dumble, Dumble amp, not Dumble effects, Dumble amp, nothing. Yeah. So if I go to eBay, maybe Dumble amp. Copies. Let me sort. Let's see, over 16. Here's a Dumble Overdrive Special 50-watt guitar amp and head cabinet, pre-owned, $110,000. Isn't that crazy? $110,000 for a head. Didn't even include the cabinet. Let's see what a Klon pedal goes for. You really kind of have to sort these by, oh, did I spell it wrong? It's Kale. The heck? Maybe over here. Okay, so yeah, here's one. Here's several. Well, there's copycats. $6,000 for a Horsey, non-Horsey, $3,500. I don't know what the difference is. There's another one, a 2000 silver one, $4,100. The KTR is even going for $700. Those were new just recently. $1,000 for those. That's crazy. I should have bought one at NAMM show. I think they were selling for like $300. It's crazy. But even on the pedal, it says, it's kind of like GameStop and Reddit. On the pedal, let's see, it says, kindly remember, the ridiculous hype that offends so many is not of my making. Actually on the pedal. Resources I recommend. You're learning classical. I'm assuming, Brett, you're taking guitar. You're taking lessons with a teacher. The Carcassi method. So, Carcassi method is great for beginners. Giuliani arpeggios. Is it two L's? Giuliani. Or is it arpeggios? Not sure about the spelling. And Segovia scales. Those were all things I had to do in college. Giuliani arpeggios basically work your right hand. Segovia scales generally for working your left hand. And then the Carcassian method is for getting repertoire. So you're going to spend your time doing, in classical studies, you're going to spend your time working on your right hand doing, wow, it's a tune, I can't believe it. You know, this is, you know, one Giuliani arpeggio. They start out simple, like, you know, and the Giuliani arpeggios, 2 chords on the left hand, just C and G7. So again, it's designed, you can even just stay on C if you want, but the idea is to work on your right hand and get a bunch of patterns down. And it's 120 different right hand finger picking patterns. And if you really want to make it hard, you can accent a different beat. So let's say you're working on a pattern that is this one. One of my favorites is, okay. Now I'm playing it pretty evenly, but you maybe want to, that's groupings of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to accent beat 1. Okay. Now I'm going to accent, my teacher had me do this, and I thought he was being a jerk, right? Then he said, now accent beat 2, the first finger, you know, so it's hard. And I'm accenting too much because I'm not sure how well it's translating through the microphone in my iMac. And plus my nail's not right. I haven't done classical stuff in a while, but the thing about that, and everybody take a sip. Oh, good, everybody did. Okay, I changed guitars. That's a sippable offense. The thing about doing that, and like I said, I thought my teacher was just being a jerk to me. You know, like just making me work hard and sweat. But ultimately, it was huge because what it did was it gave me, you know, we talk about a lot about finger independence over here, but it gave me finger independence over here. And I was amazed at how, you know, when I started doing, if I started doing jazz stuff, or if I was doing like even pop stuff, you know, I've written a lot of pop songs using, you know, the guitar. It allowed me to have certain notes come out loud. You know, it allowed me to almost like you could take MIDI and change the value of the individual notes. It allowed me to do that. So that was, you know, it was kind of one of those things where he knew best because he was a teacher, right? But I didn't see it at the time. But not until years later that I go, oh, wow, I do have the ability to make certain notes jump out when I want them to. Like I said, my nails are just not set up right now for classical guitar. Segovia scales, on the other hand, is basically 24 scales. Okay, you have 12 major scales and 12 melodic minor scales. So C major scale, and he found the most efficient way to finger them. Okay, and then what my teacher made me do again, like, oh my gosh, dude, seriously, you're gonna kill me. You know, it doesn't really say this in the book, the Segovia scales. I need to take off here in a minute. But initially, you know, I'll play the scale using index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, and then play it middle, index, middle, index, and it's like, oh, that's harder. And then play index, ring, index, ring. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, gee. And then play ring, index. Okay. And actually, I like that index ring is nice because those two fingers are kind of the same length. My fingernail's really dirty right now. But those fingers are closer to being the same length, so they're kind of nice to work with. On, you know, I feel like sometimes I'll do scales that way on classical guitar. And then he would, oh, and then he said, oh, middle ring, and I'm like, really? Okay. And so that's 5 different ways to do the same scale. And that's not including rhythmic variations over here. And then he said, okay, now ring middle. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. That's the next one. Yeah. And then the last one was index, middle, ring, index, middle. Or sorry, index, middle, ring, middle, index, middle, ring, middle. So 1, first finger, second finger, third finger, second finger, like that. So, shoot, it's been a while. Ah, dang. Everybody here loves it when I struggle. I'm not quite getting it, but uh-oh, buffering. Dang it, come on. Sorry. So that's the Giuliani arpeggios and the Segovia studies, and those are pretty standard for like college level classical guitar study. And then and the harmonic minor scales are like the thing about harmonic minor is, or melodic minor, is that they're just different ascending than they are descending. So like A minor or G minor. So on ascending I have a 6 and a 7th, and on descending I have a flat 6 and a flat 7th. So it's different. And what Segovia did was Segovia's kind of the Paganini of guitar. Paganini figured out the best way to finger everything on violin, and Segovia did the same thing for guitar in the 20th century. So so that's why the Segovia scales are kind of a standard practice kind of thing. So Pumping Nylon is a great book. Yeah, Pumping Nylon is a very, very good book. So that would be a fourth one I would add. And I'm sure there's some other good ones. I am going to do I'll probably do an acoustic guitar, but I'm going to do a video on slur studies or hammer-ons and pull-offs. Basically, I'm not going to do a video on it. I think I'm going to come up with an exercise that will strengthen your fingers. And I hated doing slur study exercises. And there's really, I mean, unless you're Alan Holdsworth, there's not much time in your playing career where you're doing nonstop slurs. But yeah, I know it's buffering again. I'm gonna sign off because it's buffering again, and I don't want to fight that too much. So, but anyway, so we're gonna continue with this, and we're gonna continue using Amazing Grace. We're gonna continue talking about the musicality, and we'll go over some other elements, and I'll have you do something. So today we were just talking about passing tones and neighboring tones, and I'm going to be talking about that continually. Every day we'll be talking about passing tones and neighboring tones. Yeah, I don't know why CU gets flagged, but it's funny. It does. SEA, if you went SEEYA, wouldn't get flagged, but that's more typing. Yeah, you're welcome, Tal. Brett, hopefully that helps you. Brett Houston, hopefully that helps you. I had a student named Scott Houston growing up as a kid. I mean, when I started teaching, he was just he was a very good guitar player, and I lost touch with him. I'd love to find him. But his last name was spelled Huston, I think. No OU, which is a unique spelling. I'll have to look him up. Anyway, God bless you guys. I will, like I said, I'll see you on Friday, Lord willing, and I will take up, continue this discussion on the musicality and embellishments. I've got lots of different tricks we can use, okay? I'm putting together, in fact, I think this may very well end up ultimately being a series that I'll do on YouTube, okay? Could very well be that. So I will see you all on Friday. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, question. Tremolo picking. Well, hit me up on that again. We'll talk about that on Friday, okay? All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.